All right, let's look at how you can work with the different sources that you applied to clients or prospects. When you get to your sources section, you'll notice all of the generic sources that the system provides you. And then below that are all of the sources that you created for different clients or prospects. You'll always know it's yours because it'll be green. And if you click it, the source scope will say user defined. If it's a generic scope, it'll say generic, excuse me, a generic source, it'll say generic. So let's say that you have this source called UHC leads, and you added that source, but before that, you had a bunch of clients that you got from UHC leads, but you just inserted them as a generic company lead. So you got 200 people as UHC lead and another 50 people just as company lead. And you want to bring all of those company lead people into the UHC lead source. So all you have to do for that is click on the lead and click on the source, then click consolidate into, select the source that you want all company lead sources to consolidate into, which is UHC leads, and then hit update. And now everybody who had the source of company lead will now have the source as UHC leads. Okay, pretty straightforward. Now let's say that for some reason we don't like the name UHC leads, and instead of creating a new source, going into everybody's profile who had the UHC leads, changing them over to that new source, that's a big pain in the butt. We'll just change the name of this source, and now everybody who had UHC leads as their source will now have this new name. So we'll call it UHC Call Blitz. And we'll update that. Sweet. Now everybody who had UHC leads now has UHC Call Blitz. So that's just a quick way that you can manage your sources. Next up, let's look at flags. So we give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors to work with. And it's pretty simple. You can just come in here and define what each flag means. Example, like it says, there's bad phone. It can be anything. And then when you're on a profile page, you can use that flag for any reason, or in your reporting section, you can report by flag type and get a result that way. Next, let's move on to pages. Pages section just kind of helps you determine how you want the CRM to interact with you. Pending business, this is pretty important. So it asks, how would you like your pending business to be updated? The default method is manually. So what that means is, let's say you got a bunch of policies that you wrote during AEP, all with 1/1 effective dates. You jump onto your CRM, it's January 12th, and you've got all these policies that have hit their effective date. With it set to manually, you have to go in and change the status from pending to active yourself. The other option is for the system to do it for you. If you select automatic, the system will search for your policies every day. If it finds one where it's hit its effective date, it'll go ahead and change its status to active for you. And then any policies that it was replacing, it'll change that policy status to replaced. And you'll also get emails of all the policies that have been changed over. Next is dashboard. If you have an agency platform and an agent platform, you can just tell the system what dashboard you want to be logged into. Activities, you can tell the system whether or not you want a weekly report of all your active activities. Alerts, do you want us to send you text messages when your alerts are due? Yes or no. And then put in the cell phone number that you want the text to go to. We ask you to add this again, even though it might be the one you have on file. Some people still use landlines, office lines, so we just want to make sure that you're putting in a cell phone here. That way you can receive those texts. Next, integration. This is where you can set up your signature. This is used from the reporting letter template section when you're drafting letters. You just type in the signature placeholder, and whatever you have here is what shows up. Next is calendar. You can select what calendar you use. That way when you set appointments, the system knows what sort of event to make and what style to make it in, and then it'll be downloaded into that particular calendar for you. All right, next up we'll talk about commissions.